OM Digital, Olympus, OM-D. I'm going to call them OM Digital. That's the name that's sticking with me. They've registered a new camera. And so
OMG.
those,
I waited for that one.
OMG would definitely work too.
OMG.
Oh my God, they've
Olympus
changed their
is
name
still
again.
around. Good to hear.
This is what it's supposed to be. Well, it's not supposed to be. This is what we know so far. 2.4/5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, no Wi-Fi 6. It's got Bluetooth, and it's due out this year. And we're also going to be getting some lenses soon. But I got to bring this up right now because I know what you're thinking. Is it the Wow camera? Yeah, well, I wonder the same thing too. Now, one thing we know about the Wow camera through various communications that OMD has made is surrounding their sensors, and this is not going to be full frame, but this is going to wow the market. And I really do hope it's one of those because you see many people who will talk something up, and they'll talk up this remote as though it's the next best thing that's going to change your life, when it's not. It's just a remote. And I'm really hoping when they say it's a wow camera, we're going to look at this. I'm going to look at this. Brian's going to look at this. John, you, James are going to look at this and say, wow, that's pretty impressive. So let's open up to the panel because one of the things I want to say first off is I'm really impressed with the communications that, I got to try to say the name properly here, OMD or Olympus have done. I really thought that once they spun this off, I thought this was a death spiral for them. I thought that whenever you do a spin-off, you're going to lose time. People are going to leave, and I just thought they're going to lose time that they don't have. And right away, this company get out there. Any chance they got out there, they started talking about stuff. They started producing stuff. They started communicating, and not in the way that you would expect from like Canon or Sony, where it was largely cryptic and you really had to read between the lines. They were very sort of open book where they could be. And I got to tell you, I'm really pulling for OM Digital. I'm really excited. I love the look of their cameras, and I really do want to see them do well. So instead of opening it up to Brian and James this time, I want to go directly to John, who's been awfully quiet. And let's see, John, you've got the first word on this new camera.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be the Wow camera, or do you think we're going to have to wait until Q1 2022?
It's funny. You're going to me first. I have no clue, to be honest with you. Uh, it's it's funny when Olympus basically sold the camera division. I just thought that the DG was it DG get the name of the GIP. I thought they were just going to basically just sell that division for parts, and it seems like they've actually taken a really serious look at really
Yeah.
building this brand up. So I'm intrigued to see what they do. I really have no idea what it's going to be.
Yeah, no, you're right. They really have. They very quickly let the market know because a lot of people think the same thing. Oh, we got a live caller coming in.
That's
Oh, that's never mind.
uh,
John's just playing around. So
that's
let me see. Can I mute
I knew
John?
I knew I needed to put this phone on silent.
Don't
Okay,
make
my
me
wife
mute
kept
you,
coming.
John. Don't make me do it. My buttons.
It's done.
Okay. There we go.
It's picked up.
I don't think it's going to be the Wow camera, but that's and remember now this is coming from Nakashita, so we know we're going to see something within what is it? Is it 2 weeks to 6 weeks from when your camera's registered? I think that's usually the time frame it takes before we see it. It can go as long as 3 months. But look, we're in September now. School's over, Labor Day's over. So we're getting very, very serious about announcements. We're going to see a lot of them. We're going to see at least 2 next week. And between now and I would say the end of October, we're going to see a bulk of stuff announced. OM Digital did say we were going to get the Wow camera this calendar year. But they said that in January, right when a lot of the market thought we would start to improve into this year. And actually things have got worse this year. So I'm not sure. But Brian,
Yeah.
what are the camera gods saying to you?
Well, we haven't had Olympus in our store in a long time.
So not much.
No. So I think it's fantastic that OM Digital is a thing because people really are passionate for their Olympus cameras.
Yeah.
Because the 4/3 sensor means your lenses are smaller and people want to get them for travel, and that's great. But 4/3 sensors have other big negative things. In my opinion, anything that's a 4/3 sensor is a non-issue, is something to walk away from, unless you're doing video. And even in my experience, colleagues I work with that shoot video have seen Well, it changed from their 4/3 sensor cameras to Sony, let's just say. So the size of the sensor has a real impact on the ISO noise. It makes it look like brush strokes, like watercolor, when you shoot at higher ISOs. For photography in my world, every single time I've used one, it has really disappointed me. The colors are fantastic. In great light, they pop. The colors are great. Those Zuiko lenses are sharp as a tack. There's no issue there. The issue is the size of the sensor. So until Olympus or OM Digital, whatever you want to call them, come out with an APS-C or a full frame, I don't really give them a lot of thought. And until we start seeing stock, and that's a whole other issue, right? Because I mean, it's all great when companies can bring out products, but unless they're in stores to sell, it doesn't do people much good.
I hear you, but I also got to bring up some more positive news on OM Digital. Guys, we've got more good news here. We've got some more lenses coming out. And as you can see from this roadmap here, we've got updated. We've got the ED 20mm f1.4 Pro, as well as the ED 40 to 150mm f4 Pro as well. But that's not all. And as one of my guests said earlier, but wait, there's more. They have identified another macro as well as 2 telephotos, somewhere between, again, that 40mm and about 150mm, but they haven't put any specs there. So I'm really excited to see what OM Digital is doing here. These guys have really, they've got my heart. I feel for them kind of like Pentax, although Pentax is not communicating as much, and it's that communication that OM Digital is doing that is really kind of got me in their corner, pulling for them. So I really do hope they can pull this one. I hope they can pull the plane up and land safely at an airport. James, what do you think of OM Digital, the new lenses? Your thoughts?
I'll be brief. Not that much to say. I think Brian and John hit the nail on the head. It's cool that the things are going on. For me, I don't know what to make of Micro Four Thirds at this moment, and that's the whole situation. I mean, me and you and Simon have talked about this for a while now. I don't know what the Micro Four Thirds system seems to not have its place. I mean, there's going to be people that are just they love Micro Four Thirds, they love Micro Four Third lenses, they love the size, the small. They're very, they don't bring a lot of baggage with them in terms of weight. But when you're getting all the capabilities for not that much higher price in APS-C, like Fuji cameras, or even full frame cameras like Canons and Sonys, where does Micro Four Thirds? Because I just think every time I think about like either the potential wow camera or the lenses, I just think back to the GH5 II. It was announced and the potential GH6, and everybody was like, "Okay, cool," because it's like because at the end of the day, everybody's thinking, "Where's this all going?" Because if people weren't very little excitement for something like the GH5 II, and there's somewhat excitement for a GH6, but then everybody goes, there's the S1H that's full frame. That's better, much better in low light. That has much better dynamic range. That has much better capabilities, both stills and video. So that's essentially my thoughts in all this. It's sort of like I don't want to be. I'm with everybody. I hope things go through, but I really think OMD needs to make some sort of pivot because. And go to something like medium formats, but
yes,
because
that would wow.
Micro Four Thirds is a slowly dying market. It's a market that's like slowly dying.
I gotta interject here because one thing I've looked at some of the stuff that what Panasonic can do, and from what I've seen in a lot of comparisons, the difference in low light performance and other capabilities when you compare Micro Four Thirds to full frame, yeah, it's huge. But when you compare it to APS-C, like the GH5, I would have bought one of those if it wasn't for the autofocus system because like Jordan Drake uses the Panasonics all the time because he's constantly out with a crew of at least 2. So it's easy for him to have Chris stand there and then he can pull the focus and, do all that, lock it manual. But with a lot of stuff that I'm doing, I just can't afford to pull the focus, so I didn't go with it. But I was very, very impressed with the GH5. I think the S1 is terrific. The only thing that held me back was the autofocus system. But I want to take us to another news story here, and this kind of is...
Sorry.
Yes?
Am I able to just kind of make one more point?
You may.
Sorry. As far as the Micro Four Thirds sensor goes, I have seen them used really, really effectively in macro photography. A colleague, Don Komarechka, uses the Panasonic formats to do probably the most incredible macro work you've ever seen. So there's no doubt about it that the capabilities are there. The issue I have is specifically with the Olympus lineup. They are made to be small. They're made for the consumer who's going to be doing traveling, and yet their menus are probably the hardest to use on the market.
Yeah.
So they're marketing themselves to retirees who are traveling a lot. That's who I've seen in store who get the most out of them.
Yeah.
Right. The people who've retired and they've traded in all their Canon and all their Nikon. They're going small. They're traveling the world. But then they can't use them. They have trouble with their menus and they have to come back in to get help with all that. So there's this weird dynamic going on. Panasonic, on the other hand, their menus are spectacular.
Yeah.
So if you are going for a 4/3 sensor, you're still getting an easy to use camera with the smaller size, but they make the medium format. They've thought ahead. They're not going to be just disappearing like a lot of the other stuff is. So I'm sorry that I went a couple extra seconds there on it, but I thought that was important.
That's all right. This is not Congress where we time you and give you 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever it is.
My time
is up.
Get the hook.
I am facilitating because I do want to try to keep this to never go over 2 hours. But if we have a lot to talk about, something like we did with the Canon R3 and the Sony A7 IV and the lenses, then I'll more than open that up. If you like this video, well, stay tuned. I've got more of them coming. But keep in mind, this is a pre-recorded segment from my weekly camera news live show, which is every Friday between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And if you like covering the news and if you would like to collaborate, well, then join me live Friday nights where you can ask questions and interact with the panelists. And panelists cover a range of the camera industry. We have photo experts and video experts. We have camera news or industry insiders. And once in a while, I have some guests from other channels such as Jordan Drake or Dan Watson. But again, thank you so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. Please don't forget to punch that like and subscribe button, as it really does help my channel grow. We'll see you again soon.